Good evening. Welcome to the Sherborn Advisory Committee meeting. Today is Wednesday, March 18, 2026. Time is 7 p.m. We will now conduct a roll call to verify a quorum. I will call each member by name. In your name, please respond by saying either present in person or present remotely. Nora Lynch Smith.
Present in person.
Adam Nee.
Present in person.
Paul Pilote.
Present in person.
Divya Malloy.
Present in person.
Alex Ritchie.
Present in person.
And I, Stephen Bonder, present in person. George Pucci is unable to attend this evening. The roll call indicates that 6 members are present in person. With a quorum confirmed, the meeting is called to order at 7:01 p.m. Since all members are physically present, all votes during the meeting will be conducted by voice. The agenda for tonight's evening is as follows. We will not review minutes. We haven't distributed them. We'll do that the next time. These will not be taken in order. But to be covered tonight will be some 3 reserve fund transfer requests for the Woodhaven and Leland Farms public water supply improvements, the Norfolk Agricultural School, and the Fire Department engine repair. We will be reviewing operating and reserve fund budgets for Recreation, Board of Health. We will get presentations on warrant Article 7 to rescind borrowing from prior year town meeting articles, and Article 8, improvement and embellishment of cemeteries, and we'll conclude with any advisory committee member reports. Are there any items to add to the agenda that were not reasonably anticipated at least 48 hours before this meeting and that require attention before our next scheduled March 21st? Hearing none, I move to adopt the agenda as read. I have a second.
Second.
Further discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Abstentions? The agenda is adopted as read. We made a promise to the Board of Health because they have a meeting at 7:30 this evening that they would be the first on the agenda. So do we have a representative from the Board of Health? And we'll defer that one until somebody from the Board of Health appears. Nobody online from the Board of Health?
Daryl Beardsley here.
Okay, Daryl, who's going to present the revised budget for the Board of Health? Sarah presenting?
Sarah can present if she would like. Stephen, and I'll be the default.
I'm recusing myself.
Okay. Nora is excusing herself. So who's presenting?
Is Sarah present?
I am.
I'm
Hi.
just dialing in by phone, so.
Okay,
I
Sarah.
can
Welcome.
present.
Okay. Maybe a good starting point for you would be to just go through the changes on this last revision as compared to the one that you previously presented.
Sure. I don't have the original in front of me. I might be able to pull it up. Sorry. Most notably, though, we were able to reduce the Board of Health agent primary hours. To 16 and a half rather than the original 18. And we were able to adjust the administrator salary to reflect a final FY26 salary of $76,000 rather than the originally anticipated $77,000. And we also were able to reduce the animal inspector stipend to be $5,000 rather than almost $6,000. And we also were able to identify the telephone budget and reduce it by also $1,000. I believe those are the major changes, getting us to the final of $193,249.
Is that, Jeremy, is that the one that you have up? I can't see that far without my glasses.
I'm not sure that is the way it's.
193,249 is what we have. Email.
Sorry, I'm just reading off of this here. I believe that's the most recent one that was submitted, but
I
correct me.
apologize, I'm not able to go on screen because I had to open our Board of Health meeting and just post that we're starting later. So it should have as the FY27 budget request, 193,317 for a total of increase of 3.32% over 2026 or FY26.
That spreadsheet not finished.
Oh, the one that's on this way. Oh, right, because I think I sent a second one afterwards, but that's all right. It's only off by what, couple $100 or something. Yeah. Okay.
Okay. I will note that, the health agent reduction was made, which somewhat bucked the trend of trying to look at previous years and the number of hours actually worked. We're seeing a downturn in applications, but an uptick in how many hours it takes to deal with projects now or with other issues. So, but in the spirit of not aiming too high unnecessarily in the budget, we trimmed that a little bit more.
And this budget of 193 will continue with the service levels that you've been providing historically.
Again, it seems our service levels are changing. I think I've described some of the dynamics in that individual projects are taking longer for a number of reasons. And we've got some unusual issues such as the accessory dwelling units, and people have a lot of questions about that. And so that just takes more time to address. And other matters coming up and increased time of the health agent in the office serving walk-in rather than appointments. Those are kind of the main things that are shifting the number of hours spent. We used to be able to track more predictably against applications and plans that were coming in.
Well, let me rephrase the question perhaps.
Okay.
This current budget will support, anticipate the demands of the department to be.
Yes, but we're not aiming high. We're not padding it to accommodate things that we can't foresee right now.
Well, that makes sense. You, I think, are also have a hearing tonight about fees.
Yes.
You have a sense as to what if you took your new fee schedule and compared it to what your application rate was for fiscal 25, what would you anticipate that increase to be as just as a baseline?
Okay, Sarah is the best person to answer that since she's run all of those numbers.
Yes. Sorry, I'm just trying to pull it up here. I don't want to give the wrong number because we had originally done it by calendar year, not fiscal year. So I'm just going to find it here. Sorry, everybody. Sorry. So it looks like with the number of permits we received in FY25, with the new proposed fee schedule, we would see an increase of about $19,000 for a total Board of Health revenue of $84,369.
And your fees, your actuals are about 60. So you're looking at maybe a 20% increase.
Correct.
Good, thank you for that baseline information. Other members of advisory, questions? Anything
I'll
from,
also note that we're hoping to put those new fees, if they pass this evening, into effect for the beginning of the new fiscal year.
good. Thank you. All right, no further questions. Thank you, Darrell and Sarah. Deb, did you have a question?
I do have a question. The fees are running much lower than last year. Do you expect them to rebound in FY27? Because this year they're running about $21,000 lower than they were last year.
We're not sure because, again, this is the only time in 15 years on the board that we have not had as many applications coming in, and permit applications and other things. So it's hard to say, and that's part of the reason why the Board of Health agent hours were brought down a bit.
I can show you if the advisory committee would be interested in looking. We've found that the most accurate sort of comparison of the applications that we get is the number of new listings in real estate. And I was able to graph that over time since 2015.
It's
So-
summarized for us. It's summarized for us. What is your conclusion?
It looks like the real estate market is tilting slightly upwards a little bit more. So I would say that potentially you might see some more applications, and there are conversations that are being had that we're hearing of more applications coming in. But as Darrell has said, it's not really possible to predict it.
All right, very good. Any final questions? Thank you. I appreciate your time this evening and for submitting this revised budget. We appreciate it. Okay, why don't we jump over to the warrant Article 7 discussion, which should be fairly straightforward. Pam, are you presenting that?
I am.
Excellent, thank you.
There's just two of them. The first one is we're rescinding 25,000 from the elder housing, which was voted on at town meeting 2012. We voted for $500,000. We borrowed 475,000 of that, and we're not going to spend the remaining 25,000. So we're just going to ask a meeting to rescind it, kind of just take it off the books. Same with the library. Town meeting 2015. We authorized $7,479,436. We issued $6,635,515. So the unissued portion is $843,921. And as we all are well aware, the project is complete. So just basically two housekeeping items just to clear them off.
Excellent. Questions from advisory? This is a footnote disclosure in the financial statements. That cleans this up.
Yeah.
No financial.
No.
May I ask Jeremy a question
Please.
really quickly? Will we do a postmortem on the library and all that, like what or the final cost was? Was it sometime in the future?
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, why don't we jump over to warrant article 8, which is the improvement embellishment cemeteries. And I think we were hoping to get some clarity on that warrant article request. So who is going to present on that?
Okay, call our meeting to order, the cemetery commission.
Please.
Fine. Okay. I don't know if you wanted us to clarify, but I don't know what you need clarified.
I think we were left it off the last time. It was unclear as to what your objective is in that warrant article. And you'd just like to get some clarity on what that is. I think a handout that you can display on it. No. I will, once this gets displayed, so I guess my understanding is that there are essentially 3 pots of money on the books. One of the pots is split into 2. So you have the special revenue fund, which has about 41,000 in it. That's sitting on the books.
So I think that's your enlargement fund.
No, to me.
You have a trust fund, which is invested at Bartholomew and Company. And that's the expendable perpetual care and the non-expendable perpetual care. And those are split 202,000 and 238,000. And the third pot is previously approved town meeting articles, which remain unspent, of about $76,000. I think, but we want to clarify that your request is to transfer some, if not all, of the 40,897, which is the special revenue fund, to the expendable perpetual care trust fund. Is that accurate?
Yes, the money that it comes from actually comes from the sale of lots.
Correct.
Okay, yes, you're correct.
Okay. And is this a housekeeping matter, or what is the objective of why you want to make that transfer?
Because we can't use it as long until the town releases it to us. We talked years ago about, could it be a revolving fund and all? By state law, it can't be. It has to be done every year. And it used to be part of that little budget thing that we have at the beginning where the articles are all just going to go through with no discussion for years and years and years and years. It did that. And all of a sudden this year it's blown into this huge thing.
So I think, and I don't want to put words in your mouth.
No, it's okay.
But we want to just clarify, so we write the appropriate motion
Yes,
for the town meeting.
yes.
That I believe that some small amount has to stay in the special revenue fund. But you want to, let's say, transfer 40,000 into the expendable perpetual care trust fund.
And we have to change the wording of the article and drop 3 words from it. And this is at Deb's advice.
Okay, can you?
Well, the difference is when the money goes from the enlargement fund into the perpetual care account, it cannot be used for embellishment or enlargement. And the way the article is currently written, it says enlargement and embellishment. Any monies out of the perpetual care can be used for care and maintenance. So those words need to be eliminated either in the article or the motion.
So the article, I would assume, can't be changed at this point. So it would just be a clarification of the motion.
Would be an amendment probably to the motion.
Well, we haven't written the motion yet.
Oh, okay.
So that's why we're trying to address it now. Now, you said a care and maintenance. What about improvement?
Improvement as well.
Okay, so care.
We can always use more that says we can't use things that aren't in there.
Okay. And I thank you for your downward adjustment on your general fund appropriation. Historically, I think it's been about 86.5, and this year you're requesting, you put in for a budget request of 7.
Well, technically, we're requesting the same amount, but we're going to help supplement it. We're not actually lowering the budget itself
For the cemetery commission,
for the cemetery.
but the amount of the appropriation is going. Am I correct, Jeremy? You agree with that?
That's the way that the budget was submitted.
Okay. Questions from advisory members? Questions from the public?
It's a comment.
Yes, sir.
So I was asked by the chair of the Board of Selectmen to take a look at the article. I did take a look at the article. And from a legal perspective, everything can be fixed in the motion. We don't want to mess with the article. So the idea is, with your cooperation, we take out some words out of the motion as requested that accomplishes what they want to do. And it spares us this issue about the problem with the warrant article is that it lists a whole series of different funds that the money can go to. And this will clarify it, put it where it ought to go.
Excellent. Thank you. Others? Deb, thank you for help with your table. That was extremely helpful.
Deb's done a lot of work behind the scenes. A lot. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And the research and all. Thank you.
Can I
Thanks.
ask you a quick question? Do we need to come to that all day thing, or do you understand it enough?
I think we've got it now.
I think so. I'm just curious if we have to come to that thing.
Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you, Jeremy. We will need a number.
A what?
We will need
Oh,
the amount.
Deb will give you the number.
Okay. The amount?
40,000.
Thank you. Leaving 897 or whatever it happens.
97 around.
Thank you. Excellent.
Is that okay that we don't have to go to that?
You do not, because it'll be part of the consent agenda.
How
And
about that, guys?
I think we,
No, we used
get it
to be
under
able to
control.
watch it at home, and then you knew when to get in the car and come down here.
Uh-huh.
And now you can't watch it because I don't think it's on TV anymore.
it will be on Zoom.
I don't do so.
Neither do I. I don't blame you.
I don't have a cell phone either. Some people do. I bet you have a cell phone. I don't.
I'm with you.
Thanks, guys. Thank you,
Thank you,
Jeremy.
Jackie.
Thanks for giving me all the information and getting us down here.
All right, that concludes the
Meeting. All right.
Why don't we jump over now to reserve fund transfer requests? Why don't we do Deb, are you going to present the Norfolk Agricultural?
I can. I didn't know if Jeremy was going to do it.
Oh, Jeremy,
Either way, it's fine.
either way, you guys duke it up, whatever you want.
Yeah, give you. You want to go to that now?
Just before you leave the subject of the cemetery commission, just want to emphasize that out of this, 24,000 is going to go to the general fund of the town
Correct.
to support the larger picture.
Excellent. Thank you.
The 24,000, it's the interest is the perpetual care earned this year. That's where,
Up through December.
that's where that came from. And we feel that that money is there for perpetual care. We should be using it for perpetual care.
Covers 1160.
All right. All right. I'm going home. Thanks, Chucky. Thank you, guys. Thank you for all the time you put into this. I know it's lots of hours, and I appreciate that.
Okay, thank you.
Very slowly.
So there's an assessment that's given to the town for students that attend the Norfolk Agricultural School, vocational school. The FY26 budget was currently in had budgeted for 3 students. And had a capital allocation for a total budget of $87,723. One of those students received special education services And there's transportation costs that students receive or benefit to students. The special education costs and the transportation costs were not budgeted in FY26. However, they're costs that the town must bear. So we're asking for a reserve fund transfer of $11,637.20 to cover those unbudgeted expenses.
Okay. Thank you. Any questions from advisory on that? Now we got to think about what this motion is for a moment, and I apologize because I was gonna write them up beforehand. So technically what we're doing is doing a transfer from the reserve fund, general account number 132. And it is to be, an amount from there is to be transferred to Norfolk Agricultural School account 316.
Right.
So that's a motion. And do we hear a second on that?
Second.
Any further discussion? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Any abstentions? Hearing none, that motion passes. The next one is trying to make this very efficient. We're doing well. The next one is the fire engine repairs. Chief.
Thank you. I think we spoke about this when we presented our budget. We talked about it lightly, but engine 3, which is a 2004 Pierce dash tanker, is in need of some repair. So it being 22 years old, that truck, it's experiencing some corrosion issues on the frame and in the pump, the actual fire pump of the apparatus. At town meeting, we're requesting funds to repair the frame. But before that repair takes place, we need to fix the fire pump. Part of the plan to repair this truck. Engine 3 is really critical to us. If you call 911 and tell us that your home or your property is on fire, engine 3 is the third truck that shows up to any incident such as that in the town. It's a tanker, carries a lot of water. Having a lot of water on wheels is somewhat important in a community such as Sherborn for some obvious reasons. But we use it regularly. We need to keep it reliable. We're trying to delay the purchase of a new engine 3 because a new engine 3 approximately 1.4 million as is. So our goal is to extend the life of this truck. It's been reliable otherwise. Had a couple things come up with it, obviously, with it being 22 years old, but we do hope to extend the life of that truck to a full 30 years. So
Once these two jobs are done, do you have anything scheduled for it?
nothing else scheduled. Obviously, things can happen with any truck that we have, as you call it, but we don't anticipate anything else to come up with this truck. But I'll never guarantee that. But
Stay off the sidewalk.
yeah.
Questions?
How long is this gonna take?
2 weeks. So we use a vendor. They've been very good to us. They're out of New Hampshire. They actually work on the trucks at our station, which is really advantageous because what happens a lot of the times when we send a truck to a shop, it sits for weeks before they do anything, and it competes with dump trucks and school buses and DPW trucks, but and the like, and it prevents us from getting the truck back in service quickly because when one of our trucks, any one of them, are out of service for any period of time, the margin of error when we have a fire is that much smaller. And unfortunately, we've had a number of fires over the years when some of the apparatus has been out of service, so it makes for some interesting times.
Thank you.
That would be your question. The transfer request was for 33,000.
Yeah.
The quote is for just under 30,000.
Good. I'm glad you brought that up. The quote does not include any shipping costs for the parts, and we expect for those costs to be up to $3,000. So we included that in the request.
All right, I make a motion that $33,000 be transferred from the reserve fund 132 to the fire department account 220.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it.
Thank you for coming tonight. Last reserve fund transfer request is the project of the Woodhaven Farms Public Water Supply Improvements. On your way.
Good evening. I'm not sure how in depth you want to go into the project, but just a short history for those that don't know. Woodhaven and Leland Farms are basically two different complexes, essentially on the same piece of property. So a handful of years ago, it was suggested by DEP, and we followed up on that to actually combine those two public water supplies. They're regulated by DEP, but for obvious reasons, having two on the same piece of property wasn't really financially feasible. And there was other reasons for water quality and everything else and water treatment that it was advantageous. So the project, in essence, was the combination of the two. There's 4 wells in total that supply. 3 were for Woodhaven, 1 was for Leland. So we combined them, added onto the system at Woodhaven, and now they're acting as one. The project is essentially complete. The way these things happen is DEP approves the plan for construction. You get into your construction, and then during that time, they come out and do some inspections. They give you a final inspection on the actual plumbing and then allow you to start operating. That starts basically the testing phase. So we're in that phase. You know, there's a frequency where you're testing the water to make sure that it's, you know, what you were trying to achieve is happening, and you could possibly make adjustments. So we're in that phase now. What we encountered a few things, but the major thing was the timing. We estimated that the project would take about 3 weeks. Not the full project, but the shutdown of water. You can imagine once they shut it down, both complexes needed water, obviously. It's not like a school where you just shut it down in the summer. They all live there. So there was these huge stainless steel tanker trailers there that were getting fed. So what we had envisioned and thought would be 3 weeks turned into about 7 weeks before DEP was satisfied to turn the systems back on and let us start working. So that came with a pretty high cost. And so that represents the biggest cost overrun. At this point, what we've decided to do, there was going to be an elder housing committee meeting, but that actually got canceled because one of the members got stranded in Virginia during the storm the other night. So there's I don't see it up there, so I can't see the exact number, but elder housing committee is going to kick in 43,000 and some odd to cover a portion of the overage. The town has holds a fund that the Leland trustees contribute to, and that's going to kick in 15,000. And then this reserve fund transfer is for somebody else. Read it because I can't see it.
58,364.24.
Thank you.
You can see that there were a number of funding sources that contributed to the project, including ARPA funds, an earmark from the state, and some grants from the state.
Your best estimate, are there going to be further costs on this project?
No, they're operating now, so the costs attributed to it at this point are the actual operation, and that'll be obviously split between Woodhaven, i.e. the town operations, and Leland.
Capital projects.
Just one question. Why such a huge delay in the inspection?
Some of it was hooking up the equipment, some slight delays in that, and then, the coordination with DEP and the inspection, and kind of their comfort level. This isn't a routine. It's not like someone's doing this every month or even every year. It's very unique what we did. Although it was almost born from an idea that, it came from DEP that they suggested it. But it's still, they're still on the permitting side, and you have the engineers that kind of design it. So there needs to be a level of comfort. I mean, they came out a couple times, but each, to them each week was, all right, well, we'll come back out in a week, and, but they came at a pretty high cost for bulk water.
Took, I don't know, nearly 2 years or so to get the project permitted to begin with before we got approval to bid the project.
It
Took
took a long time.
Process with DEP on the front end. Same on the end.
And this is going forward a savings, right? Because now you're only operating one instead of two, basically.
Yeah, we're hoping to see that it's certainly a savings from what we would have realized, because both systems would have had to do the treatment that was added separately. And then probably both systems would have had to have PFAS treatment, which is the next phase once we get through this phase. And to be operating two separate ones, it would have been more capital costs. I mean, there was a lot of capital cost invested in combining them, but going forward, it's one single treatment rather than two systems. So
The original nexus for the project was that there was additional treatment needed that would add water supply to help with reducing corrosive materials that were in the raw water. That's the main project, and then combining the water sources made sense at that. It didn't start as a combination project. It started as additional water treatment that the state was requiring for the water.
I suppose as a separate policy matter, there'll be some discussion about metering and supplying the water to the two facilities.
oh yes,
So the operations going forward, will be based on water to the two sites. 43% Woodhaven, 57% Leland Farms. But it's just assessing the operating cost.
And do you come up with a rate, or you look at some? I mean, how?
I think we'll do it off of actuals.
We'll assign the actual costs to them.
What are the costs of running the well? What are the costs of providing the water?
Retaining the services of a licensed treatment operator, or since it's a public water supply, you have to have a licensed operator. So we have a company called Whitewater to run our systems.
For those of us who are old enough to know what whitewater is.
There's an annual cost. Clients that test in the annual water quality testing, and they visit the site to make sure it's operating.
Well, you'll have the North Sherborn water
District.
pretty soon, district commission pretty soon. Yeah, right. And I should have mentioned at the beginning of this conversation the definition of a reserve fund transfer, what qualifies for reserve fund transfer. And my interpretation is that the item should be extraordinary, unforeseen, or urgent. So I kind of view that we are looking at the extra water costs as the basis for the request of the reserve fund transfer, not the construction. Would you agree with that characterization?
Yeah.
So the extra water was about 68,000. There was some extra funding resources that mitigated that, including the Leland Farms contribution and the Woodhaven Elder Housing Complex Revolving Fund kicking some over too. Further questions on this one? All right, I make a motion that transfer from Reserve Fund 132 to
192, buildings.
Town Buildings, account 192, and amount 58,364.24. Second,
Second.
any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
You got paperwork that we'll need to sign tonight or? All right, next up on the agenda is the Recreation revised budget. Who will be speaking for Recreation?
I'll start.
Welcome.
Thank you for having me back.
Whoever is speaking on behalf of Recreation, if you would just introduce yourself, that would be helpful.
Yep, I'm Dave Welch, Recreation Coordinator.
Pat President, one of the current commissioners.
Welcome. So what we have currently is the latest version of the budget is from the annual for the fiscal 27 appropriation 100,000. It's unclear to me at the moment what your request is for your revolving fund.
It's the same as presented or shared. I don't know how far we dove into it the last time we met, but in terms of the most recent budget spreadsheet that we shared, it's 250, which includes 212 based off of what we're anticipating for revolving fund revenue, plus a non-recurring expense for the pheasant field remediation for a total of 250.
Okay, good. So the total spending for the year is 300. That's what you're. Is that right? Originally, I thought it was a little bit higher than that.
I think
350. I'm sorry, 350.
350.
I miss. Apologies. 350. Okay. Yes.
So the last time we appeared before you, we walked through this budget and we started to get into questions. My understanding was, in part due to me being to leave at 9:30, that he wanted more time to ask additional questions on the budget.
So does anybody from the advisory have any specific questions they'd like to ask at this point? Divya?
Hi.
How are you?
Hi, Pat.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right, because this is a continuation from our last meeting. Thank you for coming back.
Yeah.
I think we started with me needing to understand in a little more detail how it went from 67 to a 100 is where we start.
Correct.
So if we can start there, that would be great.
Right. So I think the main difference was what we reviewed last week, but I think it's what we're doing again is because that's the difference between the draft budget that was 67,000, and then the approved budget by the Recreation Commission was which was the 100,000, which is before you right now, is the on the bottom left as you look at on the operating fund. You have up there right now. Thank you. Yep. Was the difference between four applications versus 6 applications for the fertilization and weed control, and 2 applications versus 1 application for seed. So what we have been doing over the past few years is overseeding once a year. The recommendation for a high-use turf facility is to do it twice a year. Similarly, as it was, we control, I think we were doing like 3 to 4 applications per year. And the recommendation is 5 to 7. And so the Recreation Commission, when they were reviewing it, felt that you should be doing the recommended care for the facility and not below it. And so that's why they revised it, that portion for the field maintenance. I want to point out, as it relates to the 6 applications, that if you look at the cost per application, roughly $2,000, I think, is what we're anticipating. That covers 3 facilities in terms of acreage. So the reason why is if you're going to do all 3 facilities, just to be clear, closer to 66,000. But if you're only doing 3 facilities, which is specifically Jameson and Laurel, that's what the 6 applications would cost. The reason why we chose to use the lower number on a per application basis is that if we do a remediation at Pheasant to improve the drainage, that already includes within it, as part of that process, on the backside of it, a top dress with seed and fertilization on top of it. After they deep tine the field, add the sand, the end treatment of that is, so it's already going to be getting fertilization and seed twice a year anyway. So that's why that number on a cost per basis is 8,000 instead of 11,000.
Can I keep going, Stephen?
Please.
Okay, so.
Okay.
So moving from there to your revenue,
Okay.
your revolving revenue fund, no, revolving fund has, so you had total revenue of 10,216.50. Yeah, you need to get like.
I apologize. I'm between life stages.
Me too, me too.
I have 3 pairs of glasses. It's not looking very well. So I'll try to clean this up by town meeting. I'm getting a lot of heat at home. So that included the monies that were in arrears that we collected on. I think that's what we're referring to, if I have that.
So, yeah, I mean, the 310, 200.
Yeah.
Included the arrears, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yep.
And what was that amount?
I'd have to go back and look because I don't think it's on here explicitly.
No.
We can obtain that. I don't have that off the top.
I mean, could you like ballpark it like 100 grand?
No, it was higher than that. But I'd want to give you an accurate number and not just
Okay.
throw a number out there. I think, for the purposes of developing this budget, off to the right, in columns L through N, on an accrual basis, looking at what we've done over the past 12 months, if you can see that up there, that's what we're basing our revenue on for the fiscal year budget request of 27.
So this would be 212 something. Okay. So from last year's revenue, right? We spent $40,000 on Eversource.
So are you talking about from the operating fund?
So there was $40,000 that was spent for an Eversource capital investment for Laurel.
That was out of the operating budget.
overall, so the $40,000 ideally should have come out of the revolving. I mean, here's what I'm going with this.
Okay.
Here's what I'm going.
All right, so I'm
Okay.
not trying to understand the
Yeah.
question. I don't know if there's a
So
question in
if
there.
we take revolving fund and operating budget together, and we take out the $40,000, that was a one-time need for that investment. And we see how much you need to run it, which is $212,000. Right? Your number basically at this point says 212 that you need to run it. I'm questioning what is the need for an extra operating budget outside of the revolving fund? If there is, the 40,000 is not a recurring expense. So from the math that I'm doing right now, basically you can, given the balance that is there on the revolving fund and the revenue that you bring in, you can basically, you have a runway to run with zero operating budget. Going forward. And this is, and I know there's discussions around fee increase.
Right.
That is going to bring in more money into,
Maybe bring in more money.
may bring more money,
Yeah.
ideally would bring more money.
Right.
into
It should.
Yes,
Sure.
right, but this is something we spoke about right in the beginning, right?
Yeah, there's no disagreement.
You gotta increase the program fees plus fees, because it's a simple business problem, there's a need, there's a resource, right? So I am questioning that need itself of an operating budget coming out of taxpayer dollars.
Okay. So,
Can I just build on this question for a
Go
moment?
ahead.
Just to use as an example, fiscal 25. That's the period that's closed out, most recent period that's closed out. Between the revolving fund and the 150,000 from the appropriation, the spending was about 291,000. So it was 140,000 from revolving and 150 from the general fund, let's call it. So let me just ask you about a couple of items that are included in that 291 spending to try to bring down where the normal recurring run rate is. So Carolyn Cooney, what she during fiscal 25 was about $14,000 worth of spend. What does Carolyn's firm do for the recognition?
so Carolyn Cooney, in, make sure I have it correct.
Tennis or something?
She's survey and engineering.
She did provide survey and engineering for the tennis court project.
Okay, so that's a
It's fiscal year.
non-recurring capital related. Okay, good. We're getting there. Also included in that spend rate was 40,000 for Eversource, and we know that goes to the Lawler Field project. Petrucci Construction, what kind of work do they do?
So they originally, if you go back 2 years, they were the firm that helped renovate Jameson One baseball diamond. And following that installation, they assisted with doing the diamond preparation to open the diamonds for the spring. So there was part of if you go back last year, that was all just diamond preparation.
Okay,
To be clear.
yeah, good. That answers the question.
Okay.
Thank you. Shrewsbury Landscape.
So they are the firm that provides the fertilization and weed control treatment for the facilities.
And lastly, Valley Green.
That's where we ordered the grass seed pump.
So if the 291 run rate, the fiscal 25, we subtract 55,000. That is at 245. is what was spent on operations of recognition. So the question that we're struggling with,
Yeah.
one of the questions we're struggling with, I'm sure my colleagues have other questions.
Sure.
Is why the 100,000 increase? Going from 245 in fiscal 25 to 350 in fiscal 27. That's where we're having trouble.
So I think I can answer that in part. And then I think they'll elicit responses from you. And then we can kind of go from there. So the $40,000, let's talk about that first, which went to Eversource. That money that went from operating.
I'm not questioning those expenditures. Those were fine. What we're struggling with is why is there a budget increase
So
from 250 to 350?
So I guess what I want to be clear on is that at the time the Recreation Commission made the suggestion in order to help bring the irrigation project to completion based on the overages that weren't expected at the time and costs. What was proposed was in lieu of spending more money on grassy fertilization and treatment, was to spend instead on the irrigation. And the thought being at the time was it didn't make a whole heck of a lot of sense given that we've been in and out of drought the last years. Throw more material in the field if you can't, especially laurel, if you can't have an opportunity to use it, or you're at the one of the Mother Nature. So I agree that the 40,000 was a non recurring expense, but I don't think it's accurate to say it would have been 245 because I do believe that a good portion of that would have been used towards.
Yeah, it's not really a fair question because you're taking out the one-time expenses, not adding the one-time expenses back. So we have a one-time expense of pheasant remediation for just under 40 grand. So that would go back in. So now the delta's 60, call it. And then we've got an extra roughly $30,000 in field maintenance tied to seeding and irrigation based on seeding and fertilizer based on laurel being complete and having irrigation. So I would say like high level, that's where the delta gets made up.
So let me just repeat what I think I heard you say. You would have spent the 40 on recurring expenses, but you sacrificed those so that you could get the utility at Pheasant.
Correct.
Divs, thank you for deferring to me. Back to you.
Of course, thank you. Okay, that cleared up a lot of questions. Thank you. Here's my second thing that I'm struggling with. I have a lot of questions, but I'm going to keep it to the main questions.
Okay.
Something we spoke about the first time you came to was programming. Right. I'm struggling. I've gone, looked through, talked to people, a lot of people, I'm a kid. We want, a lot of recreation, and I'm struggling to see the larger benefit from a programming perspective to our community. So there is some programming, yes. A lot of our leagues use our fields to play, yes. I'm struggling to see there are 3 flagship programs, 1 flagship program, 2 3 others, right? Snappers being the biggest.
Actually, well, I mean,
And then there's baseball, and then there's tennis and summer program.
So
And adult yoga I see listed.
So we offer 2 different age groups of T-ball as well. We offer mini soccer. We offer yoga, as you mentioned. We have 2 flagship programs, Snappers and Summer Around are the 2 flagship programs, which are primarily summer offerings. We have tennis in the fall. and the spring. And we occasionally have other programs that are brought in. Some are tied to summer ground, for example, like robotics. That was something new that we brought in 2 years ago. We have tried some programs that don't show up because if they're under enrolled, they canceled. So the money goes back. So you never see a revenue or an expense item, for them. And like, for example, this spring, we're trying flag football as a new program that's going to be out there. And with the new pickleball course, we added pickleball in the fall. So from a programming standpoint, is there room for more programming? Absolutely. Is that what you're asking?
I think yeah, no, I probably missed a couple of, flag football wasn't listed on the website and I never had to deal with it, but I think I'm having more of a philosophical question.
Okay.
Philosophical struggle with this concept of having recreation in our town.
Like what?
That is where.
Like whether you should
So-
whether you should have recreation at all,
So,
or what's
but the question I'm having is that I want this to succeed. We want all of these programs for our children, our youth, our, middle age, our population across ages, right? But for now, I'm seeing this entire from the numbers that primarily recreation is doing, bringing in money and focused more on field rentals, which I don't see benefiting the larger town from a programming perspective. And I'm struggling really hard because I want to make a case and I can't find a reason to make a case to say why the larger taxpayer dollar should be going towards what is primarily field rental business. Which is where I'm stuck. So for me, my proposal would be to say at this point, you have runway, there is balance in your revolving. There is fee increase that is being discussed to bring in more revenue. There is runway. What I would propose, and I'm hoping my colleagues would support me on this, would be to say we will increase your spend limit on revolving fund for this year. Reduce your operating budget. Come up with a plan, like a vision for what recreation would do. And I will be the first one to support it. Going forward, I feel like we're at a spot where we're, especially this year, especially now that we're against the wall with our town finances. We are, clawing back a couple of thousands of dollars from everywhere we can, just to not go over. I feel like this is a good time. This is a good time to revisit what recreation does. Come up with like a vision for the next 3 years and 5 years, figure out what our community wants and if we can provide them. And then I will support you. We can come back here and we can talk about an operating budget. But right now, as it stands, I feel like I cannot support this ask.
I think we can all agree that we all want more programs, but I think growing a more functional, better department for the community, cutting funding is not the answer for that. And we're already an underfunded department compared to most of the municipalities around us. And we're obviously a new commission. There's a bunch of us that are trying to work with all the local organizations to try and improve the fields, improve the facilities, improve the programming, which, to be frank, that has not been brought to my attention as like a major need of the town thus far. So, and we certainly agree that in going through this exercise of talking to other communities, talk to Dover, I've talked to Carlisle, I've talked to Medfield, and understanding what they offer, there's a lot of great information that we can draw from and improve those. But, we've put together a budget that to me is pretty clear and there isn't a ton of wiggle room in here. Like most of these expenses, if you go through them, are annual expenses that have to be paid one way or another. The only place we have flexibility is maintenance. And are we really gonna cut on our maintenance the year that we finish a $550,000 irrigation system? So, I understand that, you've got issues with the programming and you think the department has had issues over the past, whatever, 4 or 5 years, which it certainly has. But, if an already underfunded department, I don't think that cutting the funding is gonna make your concerns better.
I agree with you that the new commission coming in, I really appreciate after our conversations that you've gone and looked at our neighboring communities and what they do. I definitely do not believe it's comparing apples to apples. In our case, in what we have in, our community. And I also agree that, our community needs more, and I'm happy to hear that you're willing to go that way. And that is where I want to see this going, but I do not agree with saying, give us the funding and then we'll figure out what to do. I think it has to be, here's the plan for why we need funding, extra funding, what I see the 100 grand as. Here's the plan for the next 3 years, and this is what we would need to get there year after year. Not saying, because I'm not looking at it as, hanging anyone out to dry. There is runway with the current revolving fund balance and the incoming, hopefully increased revenue, which is a good idea. Right? So there is runway. There is money to run this operation, as I see, for a year with all you need. I just don't understand that extra $100,000 coming out of the operating budget, which is the general fund, going from the taxpayer dollars for this year.
So Divya, question for you. So if, like, I agree, there's money in the revolving fund as a healthy balance right now. I guess my larger question is, from an advisory standpoint, as you look at our budget, because the concern I have is not so much maybe the next 12 months, it's really the fiscal year 28. Right. So like I could see us, okay, well maybe we'd be fine, maybe. If everything, recreation is a bit of an unpredictable business in terms of what happens, with cancellations. We don't control the weather, we don't control West Nile virus and things like that. I think we're working really hard on trying to develop new revenue streams, try to mitigate some of that uncertainty that we're going to have year to year to year. I think my concern from a fiscal standpoint is how close do you want to cut it, on that revolving fund, and in terms of what's prudent in terms of how low that balance can possibly go, between now and fiscal year 28. And so, on one hand, I agree with you. I think you could actually find a way to maybe pull this off, for the next 12 months, with the runway, to use your term. My concern is that prudent, or to what extent should you do that, or is there something in between that'd be more appropriate or reasonable, so you're not taking as much risk?
Regarding the revolving fund, it's always, prior to several years ago, was dollars in, dollars out. That was operating. So it wasn't like people were trying to build up the revolving fund. So I really, it was, and I can pull up the numbers, but I'm not going to right now, and I don't, it was dollars in and then dollars out, and the 15,000 was, for lack of a better word, kind of that excess if you needed to, if you needed it. So there was never a buildup of reserves.
No, I think for recreation, there was a special allowance made that they could build up a revolving fund to use on their capital budgets.
I understand, I'm saying, but in the past,
Yeah.
But no, you're right. I mean, I looked at it as well, at least as far as I can see. I mean, what you're telling me was reflective of what I saw, which was like basically they tried to keep it, it was in and out.
Right, so I
I
think
don't disagree.
getting operating budget confused with what your budget, I mean, everything, your operating was always under
I
revolving.
think some of the stress or angst.
It's not anymore, so why are we having that conversation?
Okay, Pat, we're having the conversation because in 2021, it was, from what I understand, I wasn't part of that at that time for fiscal year. So 2021, 2022, for fiscal year 23, 24, 25, whatever. I'm just, it was supposed to be for field maintenance
Yeah, so
and organic treatment. And it was, from what I understand from the research, but since we don't have minutes, from the rec,
but we do have expenses. We know what we spent the money on.
I understand that. I'm not saying that it was, like somehow it disappeared. It's in there. And it would be nice to kind of see it all spelled out from you, for, to say, all right, where were the fields, just to have, but anyway, let me just finish
Okay.
the thought here. So it was, from what I understand, the research path that I did, and speaking with people on, at the time, that it was going to be revisited. Like, let's get these fields in tip-top condition because artificial turf was voted down. So, and I'm sorry to keep hammering it, but that's really what the intent was. I know it's in the operating. I know it's, nothing is, a violation of the law. It was in the operating omnibus. Maybe perhaps it should have been done differently. Maybe the capital request. I mean, it's just, and then the other problematic thing was the billing. So you have this kind of influx of money because it hadn't been, for some reason, I'm still trying to understand why it wasn't billed. But so it's just messed up the last couple of years because it's been this like super high increase in the revolving, which really should never have been there. It should have just been, dollars in, dollars out. And we were supposed to come back, from what I understand, at some point to address that 135 increase to see, do we need that? Can it, so we're just trying to address
Yeah.
that. And
So if I may, prior to it going up to 135. So where I did spend some time, you asked me a lot of questions. Thank you.
on the email that
Yes.
after our big intense
Yes,
meeting.
yeah. And so, where I did spend time, because I was trying to figure it out myself, and I had some of the same questions you had for my own edification, was really like, what was the profile of expenditures prior to the 135? Like, what world were we living in, persistently as a recreation, commission before that 135, kicked in? So I did spend time on that, and I don't think this exactly helps or hurts anyone's particular point of view or perspective. It's just what it was back then. And so what I found was in the 3 years preceding, 3 years preceding the increase to 135, we were spending almost nothing on fertilization, weed control, and grass seed. So there was one purchase of grass seed, no fertilization or weed control, in the 3 years prior to building 135. We were basically at the whim of Mother Nature. And I think you could take that a couple different ways in terms of what's been done since then, successfully or to what extent or not. But that's where we were. And so I'm not sure, as I sit here right now, telling you like what. That's back when we were, appropriating $15,000 to recreation annually. So if you were to ask my opinion, I'm just one person. This is not a recreation perspective. That seems a little crazy too. To say like, oh, let's go back to the 15 days or 0 and say like, we're just not gonna do anything for our fields. Like, no maintenance.
That's not true because you've had 540,000. So 135 is actually 150.
I'm saying going back to, a period where like, hey, we used to just give $15,000 a year. Yeah, but when you were only giving $15,000 a year, you were doing almost nothing for the fields. And I don't think that's a great thing either.
That's not necessarily true because you had that revolving fund that was, and then
No,
unfortunately,
it's combined spending between and operating.
Mhm.
I looked at.
Okay.
So it is true. We only spent 1 year on grass seed and we didn't do really much of anything else besides that.
DPW never did anything?
Sean's still here.
I know he isn't, unfortunately.
We could ask him.
Uh-huh.
But I can tell you, at least from an expenditure side on the recreation end of things, that type of spending only appeared after that town meeting where it increased to 135.
Uh-huh.
And so I think the answer is somewhere in between in terms of, yeah, okay, maybe 150 wasn't the right number or one, combined.
Uh-huh.
I don't think 15,000 was either. I think you probably want to do a little more support, whether it comes out of exclusively out of revolving or not. I would hope, if nothing else, we could agree on, irrespective of where it comes from, that if you want to maintain a high quality athletic field, that you would still want to use fertilizer and grass seed. And
Of course.
okay, so I think at that point it becomes, where's that money coming from, right? And how do we do it? And I think for good, bad, better, or worse, and I think what the direction we're looking for from advisory is, if we're going to take care of these fields, how should we do it, and where's that money coming from? Unless we're not taking care of the field.
So I just want to interject myself here for a moment, if I could. Two quick questions. I think that what Nora's point might have been is over the last 4 or 5 years where you got the extra money, I say that in quotes. Can you tell us a little bit about how those fields have evolved over the last 4 or 5 years? Are they in better condition today than they were 4 years ago?
So what I can tell you is that because I walk the fields every day between April 1st and November 1st, when we have consistent non-drought conditions, they're in great shape. I take pictures all the time in the fields. I'm down there all the time. I take pictures when they look awful. I take pictures when they look great. And mainly because I want to be able to say, okay, well, this is why, we're having trouble here. This is why you need irrigation. Oh, well, this is why this field looks great, because we're taking care of it. My understanding for a high traffic field is even in the absence of an irrigation system, you really do want to do the best you can when you do have favorable weather conditions, because that's what's going to help you as you go into drought and out of drought with maintaining as much of your field as possible. It helps you recover more quickly.
I think it's worth noting, a large percentage of that money hasn't been spent.
So will you repeat
A
that?
large percentage of that money has not been spent. So our current revolving fund budget is close to $300,000. And
You mean the balance?
the balance, yeah, which is a product of having the operating fund, of course, right? We wouldn't have a balance of close to $300,000 if we didn't have an operating fund for the last 4 years. And
Yeah, I think we can acknowledge that.
And a lot of that money is going to be spent over the next 12 months, less than that, 6 months or 3 months to finish the irrigation project. So close to 200,000 of that's going into the irrigation, correct?
No, 132, I believe.
We've already spent 40 in Eversource.
That was out of operating.
Yeah, but I mean, at the end
All
of the day,
right. Well,
I'm kind of treating them the same because we're pulling out of operating if we're not using those exclusively for certain expenditures. They're sort of
so you're saying in totality out of recreation between operating and revolving, are we spending roughly $200,000 in irrigation?
Yes.
Over the course of the project, yes.
Yes.
That is correct.
Okay. And then at the end of the irrigation project, we'll have another 100,000 sitting in revolving. So I don't think that the quality of the field improvement has been seen yet. I think after this year and into next year is really when those funds and that appropriation of money will take
I
it.
appreciate that comment, and I don't understand it.
The operating budget has been spent, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
So when, the number of years that the operating budget was increased, those monies are gone.
Right. Correct.
Yeah.
And I'd just like to say the operating fund, the operating account, but there's really, it's just. Okay.
So I just want to continue on my line of questioning if I could. The projected revenue of 212, how would you allocate that between field rentals and fees you charge for programming?
I'm not sure I understand the question. So, all right.
I'll rephrase it.
All right.
212,000 is your projected revenue.
Correct.
You have revenue, you describe it as program revenue and rental revenue.
Field rental revenue, yep, that's correct.
Sorry, I didn't see that detail before. So 120,000 is from third-party rentals. So you're in the field rental business. And then program revenue is for kids and adults who participate in programs that you sponsor.
Correct.
So I think the question for the community, does the town want to be rental? And what's the rate of return on it? Because it feels like every year it's going to take more investment in order to generate $120,000 worth of revenue. I don't know that the expenditures cover the revenue that's being generated by the business of renting fields.
I think it's worth noting the vast majority of those rentals are go-to clubs. So it's,
Well, I mean, maybe nominal, I mean, well,
usage wise, but not monetarily.
but not monetarily, because the rate's significantly higher for the outside clubs.
So that's kind of the dilemma. So should the community at large, and this is for the community to decide, this is town meeting is going to take this vote. We're going to make a recommendation, which we think is in town's best interest, but ultimately the community decides, does it want to be in the field rental business, which to me is an enterprise revolving fund. Because theoretically, we're using debt to build the stuff out in many cases, and that means that it should be a supporting enterprise. Even, you say, well, maybe it comes out of free cash, but it still means that we have to raise debt for other things. So it's a debt-funded program. I just don't know that there's a rate of return on it. To me, it should be you're not charged for any of the debt service. That's not included in your budget. So it's even a little bit, this is probably appropriation expenditures are probably understated. So my current thinking is 50,000 from appropriation. And if you want to spend 350, then use 300 from the revolving fund. And I think the extra traveling sprinkler is still open, and I think that should come from revolving fund too. And then that should bring you down about 25,000 in revolving, and we'll cross the bridge in fiscal 28, because we have a whole other set of issues to deal with in fiscal 28. This will be just one of them. So
I'm fortunate that the commission doesn't support our commission, to be honest. And like, for people like me trying to help out, it's really discouraging. And like, who's going to want to do my job? Why would I want to do my job if we don't get support of the town? So
How can you say that we don't have the support of the town? I just don't understand.
every meeting I've ever been on, all that happens is we get questioned, and every single thing that happens is just negative, negative, negative. It's past, and there isn't any conversation, even like Divya bringing up programs. That's constructive, super constructive, but talking about what happened 3 and 4 years ago, every meeting is not productive and supportive.
I don't think that the proposal that I just suggested has anything to do with the past. It has to do with how do you fund the 350 that you want. It's not saying you can't spend it.
Right.
The authority is there to spend down of the revolving fund. So I'm not sure that you're not getting.
See, may, just a quick thought. So I understand what you're saying. Thank you. My concern in trying to achieve a vision, over time, say over the next 1 to 3 or 3 to 5 years, as it relates to program. So, for the sake of argument, if we were to add 10 programs next year, in fiscal year 27, between the bookends, and we're able to generate for new programs, small programs, a good number would be like 3,000 per program. Maybe registering us at $150 or something like that. I don't know. That may be way too optimistic. But let's just say you did that.
that would generate, potentially $30,000 in revenue, additional revenue. But it's also going to create another, $20,000 to $25,000 in expense.
Right.
People who are doing it. Right. And so, when I think about our budget, our revolving fund limit, it's not structured in a way to incentivize new programs because you have a hard cap. And so if you're doing no new programs, that means you need to, Rob, here to pay Paul in terms of what you were planning on using that budget money for.
Then you come back and you ask for an increase in the revolving fund cap.
Oh, so if we come back mid-year and we're like, hey, we added 5 new programs, we brought in 15,
Yes.
we're spending extra 12 on supporting it. Okay,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
all right.
You could go either in front of select board or advisory to have that review.
Just similar to what you did when you came for the 135 or the 130.
Okay, so as long as we do it before year ends,
Yep,
if we're in that situation, that works so well.
absolutely.
I just don't want to suffocate ourselves unnecessarily.
No, I think that would be welcomed by the community to be offering programs that the fees cover the cost. I think that's a perfect example of the purpose of the commission.
Can I add to that? I mean, at that point, I can totally see, like, how you're talking about resistance. I can totally see that resistance going away because you're bringing more to the community. So I feel like this has to be a positive outcome from this point on, right? With trying to understand and plan out where it is, because like I said, Stephen also agreed that it looks at this point more as a field rental business. And I really appreciate that the Dover urban teams get like a subsidized because our kiddos need to get out there.
Yeah.
But from it's hard for us to say yes to from like a taxpayer dollars, and it has to be fiscally responsible. But that is something that would benefit the larger community. And I'll be the first one to support it, right? So we need to move in a positive direction.
Yeah, I actually look. I'm an optimist. So you may not believe that with all my different pairs of glasses, but I am an optimist, and I actually do believe there's opportunity in front of us.
Absolutely.
For me personally, just recognizing the laws of physics in my physical limitations and sleep, like spraying for recreation, for all recreation departments, not just town of Sherborn, is absolutely insane.
Right.
We're doing a million things all at once in a very compressed period of time, and we also have 2 capital projects we're trying to wrap up by the end of the spring. The good news is that's all in fiscal year 26. If we're able to successfully complete our projects on time this spring, I have more bandwidth in fiscal year 27 to pursue some of these things.
Right.
So Pat, I just want to build on your question about how community does support the activities of the rec department. Last year, the town meeting voted for over $600,000 to do the tennis courts and pickleball court, and it allocated free cash and American Rescue Plan money to do the Laurel Field. So I think from a capital perspective, town has been very generous in trying to build out facilities. I think what we're asking for is for those things to pay for themselves. So those activities to be self-sustaining as opposed to drawing on more capital from the community.
I understand that, and that's obviously ideal, but that's, in my research, is not consistent with the rest of the neighborhood.
Yeah, every community has a different
I understand
approach to it. I
get there.
Yeah.
But, and there's been to be totally honest, to me, a significant lack of capital influx into the department for a long time, to me. And, most of these facilities are very overdue. And it's great that we're chipping away at it. And the tennis courts is a great project and the irrigation is a great project. And these are two huge things that are really going to hopefully improve the facilities for many years to come.
And I anticipate that at some point, the commission will be looking for capital for the Jameson complex as well.
For sure.
So, yeah, so I just wanted to make that point that there is tremendous community support.
Mhm.
And at the risk of being redundant, we're asking the commission to the extent possible to be self-sustaining in the operating of the activities.
Stephen, can I ask a question related to that?
Please.
Because I'm new to this all. Your guys just big picture with respect to kind of how all the fields run and the outside rentals versus like internal programming. Do you guys view as the kind of renting the fields out as a way to generate positive revenue that can help sustain nice fields that we can then program on? Or like how do you guys see the balance between rental and programming?
So, Jameson fields are used for a lot of different things besides just organized sports and field rentals, and primarily due to its proximity to downtown. If you out there on any given day, the Pine Hill School go down uses it for outside activities. In the past, it's been used for community activities, whether it's for like movie nights, with the fire station, or the library is being redone. We used to host the library fair. The Pine Hill 5K is hosted there, and so it actually gets a lot of use that doesn't typically fall under quote-unquote field rentals. The two fields that are not really connected to downtown, which are the primarily soccer fields at Pheasant Inn and Laurel, I think there's more opportunity for the community to get the non-organized sport community to get more out of those facilities. One of the changes we made a couple of years ago that I think worked because we were having so much challenge with it, but it's close off access to the facility for informal recreation is closing and locking the gates at Laurel unless there's a field rental. And the reason why we did that is because we were having and we tried all different methods to deal with dog waste from dog walkers that were just going in and out, throughout the day. And so, we had Pine Hill School make signs, please clean up after your dog. And we tried looking into a service and it was cost prohibitive. We put up signs like, no dogs allowed in the athletic fields. The bottom line is that people just ignore. So the Recreation Commission made a decision a couple of years ago to lock the gates unless the fields are not being rented. The great news is kids no longer playing in dog waste. The bad news is they have this gorgeous facility most of the time that just sits there idle that the community, should have access to. And so I think there's an opportunity there. We need to work on it.
So in my perspective, and I'm new to this too, to be honest, I've been on the commission less than a year. The field rentals are the primary source of income for the commission, which is responsible for maintaining fields. So the programs that we run, big ones being snappers, some will go around, basically break even. The 120 grand we get a year from rentals is basically pays for the majority of the maintenance of the fields, in addition to the operating fund that we get from the town. So it's really the only viable source of significant income that the commission has. And as far as philosophically, I don't know. I've never thought about it as a field rental business.
Right. But Stephen, you think from looking at the numbers historically, you feel like it's not a positive revenue generator, net, including everything?
I can't say that definitively. Intuitively, I think
intuitively you're right. I think the difference is that if you're already going to be providing fields for youth organizations anyway, we're trying to capitalize on the slack that's not being used by the youth organizations.
But it's taken a toll on the field as well. So there's a cost to putting that field rental lacrosse game or soccer game or baseball on the field that causes the field to deteriorate. So you have to put it back into condition. So I don't have an answer to that question.
Interesting.
But between the operating costs and capital, it's expensive. It's an expensive thing. So I want to be cautious of the time because we could keep going around.
Can I ask one last question?
Please.
mentioned irrigation versus irrigation work, because that's being done.
Mhm.
And you said you don't need fertilization if the irrigation was in place.
I did not say that.
Okay, because that's what I understood, like you don't need that much fertilization if you have irrigation. Because I'm looking at it as if irrigation gets done, then that cost of fertilization that is coming in year after year would potentially reduce to a much smaller number.
So if you look at what's recommended, it does,
With irrigation,
it doesn't,
that-
yeah. it doesn't-
that, okay,
Yeah, that
Okay.
doesn't change, but
Okay.
but you bring up a fair point, which is, same thing with the remediation at Pheasant. The recommendation is 2 treatments per year, 3 years. I have on our budget to revisit it annually because I think we just have to see how the field responds. Maybe it doesn't take 3 years. I don't know.
I mean, I'm hoping things like that would actually reduce by having a lot.
It's easier to manage it once you have a more robust field because it's more resistant to droughts.
Exactly.
So it's an easier to manage. When you have no water, you throw a bunch of seed and fertilizer down, it doesn't.
I don't know what a person called an agronomist does, but it's probably worthwhile to find out. Because to hire a professional to help with this, I
100%.
think might be money well spent.
Yeah.
Because they'll probably would develop a 5-year program to get the.
Right.
So I don't know how my colleagues feel about my proposal, which was asking you if you can get behind 50 from the appropriation, increasing the revolving fund spend limit to 300 and also pay for the second traveling sprinkler from the revolving.
So it's a recreation commission decision, not my decision. From a recreation coordinator perspective, I think, running with the budget for 1 year like that and then coming back next year, I think is reasonable. And then work on things in between, see where we are next year. At that point, ultimately, budgets are decided upon the 3 elected members of the recreation commission. So they have a meeting. We have a meeting. Township scheduled for Friday, before your Saturday meeting, Friday afternoon to revisit budget stuff. So it's certainly something that could be put on the agenda.
Would that number be presented to the town, and they get to have the final say at the end? It's a we just saying this is what we recommend.
And just for,
Well, I'm sorry. The budget is so tight this year that if there's an increase in one line item, there has to be a decrease somewhere else, or there has to be a Prop 2.5 override. So if the recommendation is not agreed with at town meeting, there's going to be a debate about, well, you need to take 10 from here, 10 from there, 10 from here. So I think we're trying to avoid getting into that debate. That's why having agreement from the budget maker would go a long way.
and the only reason why I bring up the past is, as you probably heard today, what year was it that we voted for the library, $1 million? Up to 7, became 1 million, was only going to cost $1 million for the library, and it turned into be what? 7,479,000, 6 million. So that's why I'm hammering it. Okay, I'm just saying, because people aren't, and I'm not saying, this isn't on rec. Trust me, I've been harassed and harangued, okay, about it. I think inappropriately. And so nobody's beating up rec. It's just that we are the people that are in charge of trying to look at the fiscal thing and the whole picture. So I'm sorry if I'm ringing a bell or an alarm. But this is what I was, told to kind of focus on. And that's what I'm doing. So, forgive me if it sounds like I'm beating people up. I'm just doing my job. So you want to hear about thankless job? It's been pretty thankless for me. So that's all I'm going to say. We're looking out for the best interest for taxpayers. So that's it. Thank
Any
you.
comments from the community, online or in person? So
Yeah, well,
let us know. It would be nice to,
like I say, I proactively, well, optimistic, proactively had a meeting scheduled for Friday in case there was additional things to discuss.
Yeah.
Giving us plenty to discuss. We'll get the recreation commission together, put it on the agenda.
I think,
Thank you.
if you let Jeremy and Deb know the revised or not revised budget, that'd be helpful.
I can do that immediately following. It's a 4:30 meeting on Friday.
It's kind of close.
That,
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, have a good night. Thanks.
Thanks, Pat. All right, let's get a few more things to cover.
we do?
Yes, we do. We can't do it yet. So
Thanks for,
I do encourage people who have never attended the Saturday public hearing to take a look at the video of the last year's meeting, just so you get a flavor of what's going to go on. One of the things that we do is that we will read each line item of the budget, and an advisory member can, and it gets passed as one aggregate omnibus budget. But an advisory committee member can put a hold on a line so that it can be discussed further. So if you think you are going to request a hold on any line item, let me know, because we have to coordinate with that budget maker to be sure that they're here that day, so that they can discuss it. And I'm hoping that we've got through everything, that we're kind of in agreement at this point with
yeah, but we won't hear from Rec until Friday night. We'll hear from them on Saturday morning, apparently.
Sure.
So,
Again, it's our recommendation. So if we, how do we feel as a group about what we want to put in the recommended budget for Saturday? I mean, they've asked for the 100 and the 250, the 100 and the 250. We can decide now if we want to put in the 50.
for me, from a larger community perspective, what would be what I see that will get more consensus easily would be the going back to the 15 that was from the operating budget, but that's me hardlining it. I'm okay with slightly above, but maybe increasing the revolving fund to, what was it, to 300 would be where I stand.
Well, 300 for the revolving fund limit. And what are you suggesting for the appropriation?
15.
And I'd like to see, projected invoice it, trying to.
Revenue.
Project it for the field, for the maintenance, for the bills, for like, we have. Well, no, like we have estimates, that's what I'm looking for, estimates
For
for the fertilizing.
when?
Well, I'm just saying, I had the questions, I still have not, I mean, I wasn't gonna go into it, but I had all those questions that I sent to him from months ago, even the first time we were here. To ask the rec to fill out the expenses, but I'd like to have estimates for what,
FY 27.
for FY 27.
Adam, where are you coming out on this?
I can't tell if 50 is just kind of an arbitrary number.
Well, where that comes from is if the spend rate is 350 and they generate the 200 some odd $1,000, then at the end, their revolving fund would be somewhere between 25 and 50. And then they'd be spending from that as well, the cost of the second traveling sprinkler.
Mhm.
So it would bring their fund balance down.
12, yeah.
So if the 350 spending rate is a good rate, which they seem to think that that's what they need to spend.
It seems like field rental, the fees are going up. The oversight and vigilant and diligent billing is gonna happen. So I'm in support of that approach.
Alex?
I mean, from my perspective, if we're gonna push back on their proposed budget, like what lines, what exactly are we pushing back on? So I think we should be, or from my perspective, be specific about that.
So they, from what I can gather, so that they want to spend $350,000. And they're asking for $100,000 from the appropriation from the taxpayers.
Right.
And then $250 as a spending cap on their revolving fund.
Right.
So the question for us, I think, the relevant question for us is, do we want to recommend an appropriation 150, something else?
I mean, my instinct is to go with your approach, which it seems to be saying, next, sure, there'll be less of a leash there and we'll be more serious about it. But if we're going to go under that now, I think we should be specific about why we're going under it. Is my feeling about it.
Stevens proposed seems reasonable to me. I think we're wanting to get them to the point where it's self-funded. And it's not today. And I think like 50 is still points like they're really moving towards having self-funded, not this year, but over the next couple of years. So I feel like that's a reasonable proposal, getting the $350K expenses they have. It's also a movement in the right direction, which is towards having self-funded. And I do feel better about Pat's kind of like being new and kind of really trying to look at trying to do a lot of things to get it to a point where it's self-funded in finding programs from the towns and all. So I feel better about how they're managing going forward.
Town management have an opinion? Select board, you want to weigh in at all?
I can only speak for myself. I can't.
Right, I correct myself as a citizen.
Yeah, and circle 116 Lake Street. I mean, I think your proposal is very sensible, and I would just add that if it's possible to reach an accommodation with the commission, so there isn't a fight on Saturday at a town meeting, that's a good thing because those fights can land in very unpredictable places, one extreme or another extreme. And if there's a both of the right commission could get to, that advisory could get to, that's carefully considered, that's likely to lead to a better decision than a potentially extreme decision at town meeting where there are many people in the room who haven't been a party to all the discussions and conversations that you've had. But that's just me, that's not speaking.
Clarification.
I
think at the,
yes.
I think at the table, we have 1, 2, 3, 4. But 1, 2, 3, 4, 2 for 50.
Well,
and are you guys at 50 or not at 50?
I mean, I'm not hard on that number. I just need to be able to justify that, and I understand your explanation. And from my conversations independently with the commissioners that I've had in the last few years, they are open to the idea, which would hopefully we get to see a positive movement on Saturday. And I reluctantly say yes. I am okay with that as long as we are say we do set up a 6-month or a 1-year discussion to revisit that and see where they're at, and if they're independent, then that's how they should be. That's the direction that they should be going in. So that is reluctantly agreed.
I reluctantly agree also. I think it's a move in the right direction. I would like to see, invoices be sent out. Would like to see not holding invoices for 9 months. I'd like to see, cash flow.
I do believe with all, the number of conversations that I've had, independently with, the commissioners and many citizens in town that are, involved with rec as participants, as runners of leagues or anything, that we all want to see positive movement, everybody that is involved from here on. There is, I mean, there's definitely need for accountability across board, not just rec alone. So I wouldn't put that as, that's not the hill I'm gonna die on at this point. So
So let's, for purposes of discussion for Saturday, we're gonna recommend 50. And then we could be swayed by public comment. We'll hear what other people have to say, and we may change our mind. It's not the final number certain until we vote on. Thank you.
and how does that look?
So so on Saturday, again, if you get a chance to look at the video, I think that will give you an idea as to where we're gonna be. We're gonna go through the first 7 or 8 articles are gonna be a consent altogether. They're fairly routine. We've discussed them. We'll hear presentations from the Sherborn School Committee, the Regional School Committee. Emory will do a presentation. And then we'll hear on the other various presenters from the other articles. The Land Acquisition Committee will make a presentation. Planning Board will make a presentation. And there aren't that many articles this year, so I'm looking forward to a smooth discussion.
What time should we arrive on Saturday?
We will open up at 8:15. Then we'll open up the public hearing at 8:30. And if we have any business to do in those 15 minutes, we can. We have a meeting scheduled for, I think it's April 1st, Wednesday, April 1. I cannot make that meeting. So we can either discuss having it on April 8th, or we can have a conversation about whether we need a meeting or not. I think we will need a meeting in April before town meeting. Because one of the things I think we'd like to do is, once the third quarter is complete, get a projection for the remainder of the year and see if any departments are going to be making a request for a year-end interdepartmental transfer. So we'll probably need that April meeting. And I think if it's April 8th, then goes to the 15th, which is probably school vacation week. So I don't know if people will be around.
We'll be here 15th. It's the week after.
The week after. So we can decide whether it's the 8th or the 15th. Tax.
Better than
Can we propose April 8th now? How does that, or do you want
Deb, would you have stuff ready by that?
I don't have my warrant calendar in front of me, but I want to say that tomorrow's a warrant date, which is the 19th, right? So then 2 weeks from that date will be the next time I have any, like payroll and payables to post. Does anybody have a calendar in front of them?
That's the first, that should be about the first.
The third? Does that make sense? Oh, I can.
The third is Friday.
Okay, so the second would be the next time I post a warrant.
Okay.
So, I
So
mean,
the 8th would be okay.
the 8th would be okay.
And you'd be able to gather from department heads their
Yeah.
Q4 projections.
Yeah, I would post on,
Okay.
I would post it right away and then I could just reach out. That's not a problem.
Okay.
So the 8th would be better than the first.
Okay,
great.
So we'll change that to the 8th, and something may come up, as a result of the public hearing that we want to discuss before town meeting. I did email out today a proposed assignment list for each warrant article for the write-ups. And I gave you last year's advisory report to use as a basis for writing them. These paragraphs shouldn't take much. They're very straightforward. And I think I told you, I need to get them to the printer. I need to submit them to town hall by, I think, April 1st or 3rd. No, the 3rd, so that they can get it to the printer the following week. And I need a week to edit and review. So I'm asking by the end of March, I think it was, to get me your write-ups. If you can,
Wait, when?
whatever the date.
27.
27th.
Yeah.
So
And-
not for this Saturday's all-day session.
Correct.
Okay, got it.
Because we wouldn't have had the vote yet.
So it'll be all of that. It'll be both the summary and the vote.
Correct.
Right.
And if anybody votes in the minority, they can submit a minority paragraph to include in the advisory report as well. So people are free to do that.
Those would be fun to read.
I think so. Any advisory committee member? I'm sorry.
I have a question regarding Saturday. I had some questions from department heads on if you have a calendar, will you be, or a
Timetable?
do you think that you're gonna do the department budgets first and then the articles, or the articles first? I mean, what time do people need to be available?
So my proposed agenda is we'll open the public hearing at 8:30. We're gonna do a consent agenda for articles 1 through 8. That should take 5 minutes. We're then gonna read the omnibus budget, which is Article 9. And then that's why I asked if any holds are gonna be placed. So we can notify those department heads if they're gonna need to present or be available. I don't know as we sit.
Can we just kind of get an estimate right now of what departments you think you're gonna put a hold on? Not yet, no. Okay.
I don't know. I don't know. I don't get the sense from anybody that there is going to be a hole unless the rec commission.
Unless the, I was just gonna say,
That's the only one that we haven't,
you've met with them multiple times and
Yeah.
the members.
I think all these,
Saturday morning.
the other budget makers have agreed and submitted to their budgets.
Yeah.
And we haven't really, we've gone back to them.
Yeah.
They resubmitted, and I think we've had a good back and forth. So I wouldn't anticipate any. So before the consent on 1 through 8, Jeremy will make a presentation. The school committee will make a presentation, and that will include their capital as well. Then we'll go through the budget. Then we'll do the capital plan, both the excluded debt and the free cash funded ones, and the stabilization fund transfer. Then we'll go into land acquisition. Marion will be doing a presentation. Then we have the 2 planning board ones, and that should wrap it up. So
Easy peasy, 20 minutes. What do you think?
unless you know something that's going to create some discussion of any sort.
It took a lot of time last year. Was it all the warrant articles?
It's process. It's sort of the routine of the meeting.
We had the
Because it was
we had the fields at the high school.
fields.
That was a long time. We had a lot of planning board stuff with the.
Right, it was the planning.
Library.
Right.
I don't anticipate it to be.
I don't
It's not going to be more than a day, and
And he's very, he's optimist. He's an optimist.
I think about what can go right, not what can go wrong. Sure.
I'm gonna bring us something back.
Diane ordered lunch. Do you think we'll be here for lunch, or should she cancel?
No. We need lunch.
You think we'll be here until lunchtime?
Yeah.
Yes,
It goes quickly, and that's only 3 hours after we start.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
As long as Paul brings some treats like you did last year. Yes.
So,
Right.
any other advisory committee member reports?
I met with both Concom and Borough Health, and we officially have their revised I'm tired. Revised budgets and designate remains that in his model. So
And
that's,
they should break even.
Right, I mean, you.
And no excess.
More for
just,
the correct number you put in, but. Definitely.
it's,
With some, it's fair.
this,
There is, supposed to be without.
okay, so it's gone up from where we were. Okay, that's the,
But as a percentage of your budget, $60,000.
yeah, small, small. But it's not triggering a need for the other discussion so far, so. We'll take that.
All right, anyone like to make a motion to adjourn?
So move.
Second,
Second.
all those in favor? Oh, we are adjourned at 9:02 PM.